Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter. As we went through in the 4th chapter, overall dealing with Cain's disobedience and the event of him murdering Abel and so on and so forth, the punishment that was put upon him. So this is the book of Genesis chapter 5 verse 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him, which the word God here is still Elohim, which is plural. So really it should be in the day that the powers created man, in the likeness of God made they him, or man. Anyway, so this is going into the genealogy, all right, following in this case Adam, but through the line of Seth. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day that they were created, right? Which goes to show you that it was a plural, right? The creation of man was not just one man and one woman. It was a lot of men and women. So the Lord blessed them and called their name collectively Adam. But he also had an individual man himself who was also called Adam. In the day that they were created, i.e. in the 5,000th year, which was the day, not the 24-hour period, but the duration of 1,000 years when they were created, as we went through in Genesis, the 1st chapter. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. And so Seth was pretty much like Adam. Now this could have been, both in appearance, but definitely in taken after his spirit, unlike Cain. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. So as you can see, we lived to really long ages back then. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Now, here's something interesting about this, right? When you go back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, it was said in the day that Adam was to eat or partake of that tree of knowledge of good and evil, he would die in that day. And when we went through that, I explained that that day was actually a period of 1,000 years. Adam transgressed prior, right, to having Cain and Abel, as we read in the next chapter. And also, then you had, obviously, Cain murders Abel, and then he's also kicked out. So this has happened definitely not in the span of, in fact, from the point of Eve being pregnant to birthing Cain is well over 24 hours. So if this day was in reference to a 24-hour period, then it wouldn't make sense. Adam should have already been dead before he could even have a son. But that goes to show you why that day, pursuant to 2 Peter 3 and see if I can pull it up, that day is referring to a 1,000-year period, because as it reads in 2 Peter, I think it's 3 and 8, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So in this case, a day to the Lord is 1,000 years to us, which is why Adam didn't live to a full 1,000 years. So within that day, within that 1,000 years, he died. Hence, he lived but he lived to 930 years. Okay. And Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. So this is now following the line, right? The generations here. This is the line of the sons of God, the righteous line. Okay, because you had the line that went through Cain, right, and Lamech and his sons, Methusael and Mehujael, and so on and so forth, Tubal Cain, and then you had this line through Seth, okay, which is where the righteous lineage travels through. Where we at? And Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. And Enos lived after he begat Canaan 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years, and begat Mahalaleel. And Canaan lived after he begat Mahalaleel 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalaleel lived 65 years, and begat Jared. And Mahalaleel lived after he begat Jared 830 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalaleel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. So he lived pretty long too. And Enoch lived 65 years, and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years, and begat sons and daughters. Now, when it says here they walked with God, once again, they weren't taking a stroll in Central Park. Walking with God, when you go into that word walked, it actually goes into, what's that, halak, but a manner of life, figuratively, okay? So the way that they lived, or the way Enoch lived, was righteous in the eyes of the Lord. He followed the ways of the Lord, the proper way of the Lord. That's what it means by walking with God. As it says, and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. So what that means is that he didn't die, per se, all right, because God took him, i.e. to the spirit world. And like we see like a similar situation with Elijah, where Elijah's body wasn't found because he didn't die the same way we all, die, in the sense that he was actually taken up in a chariot, right, and in the vehicle of the angels, and then you can say translated to the spirit world. And let's get a precept on that. Let me see, I think this is Hebrews 11. But let's just try to find the verse. Okay, let's do Hebrews 11. And let's search translated. Here we go. Hebrews 11:5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, because death is the parting of your spirit from your body. That's why your body gets buried and your spirit goes back to the spirit world. But Enoch wasn't found, meaning his body didn't remain here. He didn't have to deal with the separation of his body from his spirit the way we do. And he was not found because he was taken up, right? Because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that pleased God, which is why it said that he walked with God. Now, when you look into the word translated, I'm just going to do myself the favor and not attempt to pronounce that. Let's hear it.
Strong's G 3346. Metatithemi. Metatithemi.
Okay. So when you look into that word, it says to transpose, meaning two things, one of which is put in place of another. So you take one thing and put it in the place of another, right? when So when dealing, let me see if there's anything else. To transfer, to change. What else do they have here? Figuratively, okay, cool. So what happened with Enoch is, instead of his body, dying and breaking down to the earth, it was transposed as the Lord took him to the spirit world, because you can't dwell in the spirit world with a carnal body, right? A body that is meant to dwell on the flesh. So what happened was that the Lord translated or changed that body into his spiritual body, which the Apostle Paul mentions, that you have the bodies that we dwell in here on earth, and you have those in the spirit world, right? That you're in when you're in the spirit world. So the Lord just translated his carnal body to his spiritual body as he entered the spirit world. Therefore, he didn't deal with that separation of spirit and body in the traditional sense that we do. So going back to Genesis 5:25, and then something similar happened with Elijah and also Yahushua, right? Hence, you couldn't find their actual bodies. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And I believe he lived the longest, which is 969 years. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord Yahweh hath cursed. And it's interesting because I think that, I wonder, let me see if I remember correctly, in Genesis, let's check the 8th chapter. There we go. In Genesis chapter 8, this is after the flood, which we'll get to it. Noah after, after the waters abated and he came onto the earth, dry land again, he built an altar unto the Lord, right? And offered burnt offerings. And the Lord said, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. See? So it's spiritual that his father, Lamech, said this concerning Noah in calling him Noah, right? Because he said, this same Noah shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. Remember, going back to Adam's transgression. So it was difficult. It was laborsome in order to be able to get something during harvest. All right. And I believe when you go into the word Noah, it's Nawach or Nach, as they have it here. Yeah, same as Nawach. Now this here says means rest. Let's see what the root word is. Okay, resting place. So, like comfort, rest, right? Similar. But that was like the nomen omen of Noah. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old. And Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Shem in the Hebrew is Sham, which means name. All right, Ham is Cham, which means hot. And Japheth is Yapah, or Yapath, actually, because Yapah is beautiful. Yapath is enlarged, or when you look in the blue letter, I think they might have updated it, but it's a synonym for enlarged or opened. Okay, but there you go. And that brings us to the end of the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter, dealing with the generations of Adam through the line of the sons of God. So I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.